You're tuned in to Repco Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Proudly brought to you by Repco, in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Rislone. First up, thanks to Rislone, we're at Meremere Dragway for a meet that's going from strength to strength. The Bay Rodders Nostalgia Drags. Over the last few decades, this cult event has taken off, and it's easy to see why it's become a favourite on the drag racing event calendar. Because amid a roar of engines and a haze of tyre smoke, you'll see an awesome range of retro drag cars of all shapes and sizes, ages and stages. Flatheads, gases, feds, pre-49 hot rods, pre-78 Americans, door slammers, funny cars, well, you get the idea. This one's become an end-of-season tradition with wide appeal, because it's a golden opportunity for the street guys to have a serious go at a big meet. And a great way for the pros to have a bit of fun and round things out as we head into winter. Of course, the broad selection of classes on offer means the nostalgia drags aren't necessarily about clocking the fastest times. But no matter who's racing, it's always about having a good time.
So we're at the Bay Rodders Nostalgia Drags at Meremere Dragway, a meeting that we always look forward to every year. It's our kind of meeting, lots of old cars, lots of horsepower, lots of fun.
For Bay Rodders, I think this is our 16th year in a row that we've been running it now. So yeah, looking for a good weekend of racing.
And considering its size, it's pretty impressive that this is still a club-run event. So hats off to the Bay Rodders, still putting this one on every year and keeping it real, rather than roping in a promoter, as it's a pretty big undertaking.
When we first took it over, I wasn't involved then, but it was quite minimal racing, and over the years we've run multiple features like the FEDs, the Wild Bunch, vintage gases, nitro cars. We've brought cars out from Australia, and we've just built upon it each year to where it is now, which is just amazing. Today is all about the opportunity for guys with street cars to get their cars out on the track, have a little weeny bit of fun, see what they can do down the quarter mile. It's all dial your own, which means that you get a couple of runs down just to see how fast your car goes, and then you can put a number on. And that makes for quite competitive racing, because you can race against somebody. One car might be 12 seconds, one might be 18, but they start at different times. So you can still have a really good competitive race. It's been really great to see from some of the classes that we've introduced, like vintage gases and the Wild Bunch guys. It's really awesome to see that from this one event where we started the class, they've gone on now and they're racing permanently each season. So that's exciting for us, that more people are out there doing what they want to do, so that's great. They've spent their hard work and with their hands, putting the work into their cars, and then they just want to get out and have a bit of fun with them and keep it old school.
Being held in April means the event is always at the mercy of the weather, which can be an issue when traction is the name of the game. This year was no exception, with the nostalgia drags being forced to run over 2 days this time round. But a few drizzly moments didn't dampen anyone's spirits, as a strong and varied field assembled on the Saturday and then happily came back to do it over when the weather behaved on Sunday. And thanks to Maguire's, we had the chance to yarn with some of the drivers.
It's a 1948 Ford Pop. It's running a 406 small block Chev Dart with dart block, dart heads, etc. A couple of twin fours on it. I'm running vintage gas today, and that's my preferred place. Yeah. The way we run it with the race return, we go out. The whole show goes out every round on cars like mine that aren't exactly what you'd call predictable. Running in super sedan is hard work. With this, you have fun all day. It's really great class. Yeah. So this car here, it's got quite a bit of history. Goes back to the South Island. Trevor Tolhurst built it, and it's done a lot of drag racing. So it's actually mostly a Pop chassis, but it's had upgrades over the years. But it's short, and it has got a reasonable amount of horsepower. You're never quite sure whether it's going left or right, but mostly right. It keeps you alive on the start line for sure. I'd like to think I can qualify in the top 8, and in fact I've sort of won the last 2 A-gasser races we've had, so a hat trick would be nice.
It's a 1974 Chevy Vega body style, fiberglass body. It's been stretched and changed to fit the wheelbase of 125 inch, which is a standard configuration for this type of car. Chrome molly chassis, big block Chevy, cast iron heads, 871 supercharger, and a lot of nitromethane. I guess I'm one of those old school hot rodders. That's really where my passion comes from. And when nostalgia racing started to become a big thing, I thought, yeah, I'd like to get involved in that. So I bought the car with the intention of being involved in this type of racing. On a good day, we'll rip off something like 690, 680, maybe 205 mile an hour. Not a lot of tunability in our car. It's pretty much a case of just take it out there, stomp on it and hang on. So it's developing around about 2,500 horsepower, and that's relative to the mix of nitromethane that we put in it. We're currently running around about 85%, give or take 1 or 2%. And it does make a difference, believe it or not. Even 2% mix change can make the whole attitude of the car totally different to drive. We have been running it up into the 90% range before, but we need conditions to be on our side for that. So today it'll be 85.
It's fuel altered that came out of Australia, one of Graham Cohen's cars, and a friend, Willie Roach, rang me up one night and said it was a good idea to buy it, so here we are. 413 cubic inch, it's a Brad Anderson motor. As a nitro car, it's a little baby motor. I think on a good day, we're talking about 3,500 horsepower, so yeah. We sort of only got the car out on the track a month ago, and we're sort of like running out of passes. And the nostalgia is a pretty big meeting, so, but it's really the last chance to have a crack at a prepared track. Last time, I think it ran here, Maurice McMillan was driving it, part of a World Altered series, but it had a little bit of an incident, and hopefully we don't make the same mistake. In Australia, it's run in the late 5s. I think New Zealand, it did a 6.0 before a little bit of a mishap. So we're only taking baby steps at the moment, just licence passes and stuff, so hey, we'll take what we can get at the moment. Nitro cars are pretty cool, eh? They make a lot of noise, and yeah, that's what people come to see.
Myself and John both built this car and owned the car, and we've been out of sport for a couple of years after the demise of our last top door slammer. So getting back here to the nostalgias, to Mary Mary with our brand new car for its first, for its debut is just, it's hard to describe. It's nerve-wracking, but yeah, look, we are absolutely stoked just getting back to the track. We managed to get everything here. COVID was a bit of a slowdown, a bit of a pain, but we managed to get everything here a little over a year ago and kicked into the build about July last year, and here we are, we made it. The 67 Mustang, we specifically chose the age of the car, the body style, so we could have a car we could bring back to the nostalgias. It's what you'd call a dual frame rail chassis for a top door slammer. So it's all chromoly, all the metal in it's chromoly, tin work, everything's chromoly. All the panel work's carbon fibre, so keep it nice and light. Runs a 526 Hemi with a PSI supercharger, so best guess is around 3,000 to 3,500 horsepower when it's running well. There's a 10.7 inch clutch in behind that, 3-disc clutch, and a 3-speed Lenco transmission. And then down the back we've got a sheet metal housing which holds a 10-inch diff, similar to a 9-inch for hot rodders and stuff. I know a 9-inch. It's very, very much the same, just a bit more beefy. Front suspension, rear suspension is all from Strange Engineering, 40 spline floater axles, all carbon brakes throughout it. You get to take a closer look at the body. This is how we tried so hard to get out for this season, towards the end of the season. The body's not actually painted. Nothing's been done to it. It's just in gel coat, right, which is just fresh fiberglass out of the mould. The seams are still on it. We've put some signage on it. We've put some stripes on it. So for the punters in the stands, when you have a look, it'll look like it's been painted grey, but that's how unfinished it is. but everything under the body is 100% complete. Our number one goal today is to have fun, right? We drag race because we love doing it and we have fun doing it. So we made sure, we're coming up to do some testing, we'll do some launches, some skids. If everything's going okay, then we might be able to go to half track, that sort of thing. We're not looking to run anything, super fantastic. We just want to shake the car down because we're going to have to tear it all apart again because we've got to paint it and a few other bits and pieces. But we're not here to stress out. We're just going to play and, as I said, we love drag racing. This is one of our home away from home places, and having fun is the number one goal.
It's not hard to see why nostalgia racing has taken off around the world over the past few decades. This is old school, racing the way it was. And that retro romance has made the nostalgia drags a real staple on the calendar. Something that's given the sport a serious injection that packs in more and more punters every year, all looking forward to looking back.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? Look at the turnout's always impressive, and that's all the right sort of cars, isn't it?
There's a few cars here that you will only see at this time of year. Some of them are not necessarily all that fast, but they're very cool looking because they represent a particular era. Not something that you would see at your average drag meeting.
It's the people, it's the crowd, it's the cars. Like there are some cars that turn up here that we don't see at any of the other competition meetings. You get some of these front engine drags. So I love front engine drags, you get some of those coming out you don't see very often. You get a whole lot of hot rodders here who don't come to other meetings, and so you just got a slightly different crowd, and it's just a really good vibe.
It's our major thing that we do each year, and we are lucky that we have an awesome bunch of people that are enthusiastic about it as well. So it has been really important to us to keep this event alive, and through the help of a great club, we've been able to do that.
Protection of hybrid ceramic.
Whoa.
Now in 3 easy-to-use products. In original spray wax, now as a liquid wax, and a spray detailer. Meguiar's hybrid ceramic family with advanced SiO2 technology. Meguiar's, ceramic made easy.
Rizlone has been in engines almost as long as engines have been in cars. Why? Because from then until now, there's never been a perfectly clean fuel. This means every time you fill up, you're adding pollutants and contaminants to your fuel system. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner can cure those woes and help save your engine. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner adds an upper cylinder lubricant, providing double the cleaning power out of the same bottle. We know something about aging well, so when we say it's your engine's fountain of youth under a screw top, you can count on it. Rizlone is the original engine tune-up. Available at participating stores near you.
You're tuned in to Repco Muscle Garage. And now, thanks to the Mount Shop, we're in East Auckland for the first of a 2-part special. When it comes to having the conversation around New Zealand's top builds, one name quickly springs to mind for people in the know: Ian Neary. Ian's a bit of a legend, not just on the New Zealand scene, but internationally too. He's a SEMA judge on a first-name basis with the likes of Troy Trepania. Take one look at his handiwork and you'll see why. Ian's made a real mark on the scene with 2 extraordinary vehicles. His legendary 68 GTX and his 59 Ford Skyliner. Now we're getting a detailed rundown on his amazing work, which is entirely appropriate because detail is Ian's trademark. In fact, his fastidiousness is second to none. So it's hardly surprising he's now often known by another name.
The Dr. Detail name came about in 2007 at the Rangiora show in Christchurch. The field was full of mud, it was pretty messy. So I went back to the hotel and spent 7 hours grooming and detailing the car. I had my music on and everybody in the hotel, who were all car people, decided to have an impromptu party outside watching me detail my car for 7 hours. That's where the Dr. Detail name came from.
And it's this attention to detail that elevates Ian's work to the next level. Nothing typifies this like his 1968 Plymouth GTX, known as Eruption. This car is, without question, the pinnacle when it comes to custom work. The GTX is truly world class, going above and beyond practically any other muscle car you'll find in the country. But while it resembles the high-end builds you might expect to see in high-profile American shops, it's actually sprung almost completely self-made from a little workshop in Panmure. At its core, the vision here was to take a muscle car and modernise it. But when you break it down, what Ian's created is more akin to modern art. And there were literally thousands of hours of blood, sweat and tears required to reach those lofty heights.
Ever since I was a kid, I always watched Vanishing Point, and I know it was a Dodge Challenger, but it was white, it was a muscle car, and so I wanted to build, and I believe that the B-body Mopar is probably one of the coolest looking body shapes. And so that was my dream, to build a white B-body muscle car. The GTX I purchased in 2008. Believe it or not, I found it down a driveway in a commercial building in Otahu. It had come into the country as someone's project that they didn't want because it had a bit of rust in it. That didn't faze me at all, and that's when it started. 7 years of a great challenge. When I started the GTX, I knew exactly what I wanted, and I had a picture in my head to build a piece of automotive art, muscle car art.
And as you'd expect, from the powertrain to the interior, everything was thought through, reimagined and reworked, down to the last detail.
The drivetrain in the GTX is not what people expected. Everybody expected it to be a big 426 Hemi, and that was never going to cut with me. So I went down the road of class, style and modern design, which is the Dodge Viper, which is a Chrysler motor, and so it stays in the family. So the GTX mechanicals, when we look at the drivetrain and the underfloor, the front suspension is all custom handmade. It's all tubular frame, and that was made by the one and only Terry Bowden from Terry's Chassis Shop. He did a 4-bar rear suspension, and it's a Dana Ultimate 60 True Track differential. It's got a T56 6-speed manual in it, and you know, anybody is probably controversial, but if it's a muscle car, it's got to have 3 pedals. So it's a manual, obviously. The dash on the 68 Mopars is a long horizontal, and I just didn't like that. I like the 4-pot cluster that the 70 Challenger has. So I took a 70 Challenger dash, cut the whole top off it, and then regrafted my own shape on the dash pad, and then fitted that to make it look like it was supposed to be in the car. And then the seats, front and rear, I wanted to sort of keep that style of the 60s, but sort of modernise it. So I finished up using 06 Pontiac GTO front and rear seats, and of course the great craftsman in Ian Goodwin, he crafted those seats to perfection. And then the centre console is an important part where it runs right down through the car, and I used the tops of the old rear quarters that I replaced, and I stitched them together to emulate the outside shape of the body going through the centre of the car. On the undercarriage of the GTX, one of the things that was really important was to make it look as though it had come out of the factory. And of course, with the rust in it originally, all the floor pans were cut right out. There was nothing left. What we did was a whole new chassis that we grafted in from the front right to the rear of the car. And that there was then top-hatted. And then, of course, the bodywork under there, the whole underfloor carriage, floors, etc., has all been base-coated, clear-coated, and then colour-sanded and polished to match exactly the rest of the car, every single millimetre in detail. So it's got a full chassis that looks like it came out of the factory.
Of course, when you're doing this much work, there's one other thing you need in abundance: time.
Over that 7 years that it took to build was approximately 40 hours a week. So there's 13,000 hours in the car. And what I learnt from my trips to SEMA, judging over there, was that if you want to get the build right, that's the time it takes. There's so many detail in the design and hand fabricating all those special custom one-off pieces that make it what it is.
Unsurprisingly, once Eruption burst onto the scene, it quickly started turning judges' heads everywhere it went.
The GTX has won some pretty important awards. It's won everything where it's gone, which is quite a testament to what I've built. But I think probably the one that really, there's two awards that are really special for me. One was the 2017 unveiling of the car at the speed show at Green Lane, where it won the muscle car class. But probably the most important award to that car, which has no trophy, is the glove box lid that Chip first signed, telling me that if he took it for overhauling, he wouldn't give it back. And that says it all for me for that car. A couple of things that I'm most proud of with the car is, first of all, I achieved it and finished it. In the mid stages, it was starting to get a little bit long in the tooth, and I had to try and find the energy and the drive to carry on. I was having issues with trying to decide on who was going to do the bodywork and the paint, and there was some challenges there, and in the end I decided, no, I'm going to do it myself. To finish the car, number one, was what I'm most proud of, but to do all the bodywork on my own was probably the icing.
Tune in next week for part 2 as we check out Ian's amazing Skyliner on Repco Muscle Garage. Feel like your car could do with some TLC? Well, thanks to our series sponsors, we could be hooking you up with this incredible prize pack. For a start, there's a huge Maguire's and Rislone complete car care pack valued at over $760. We've also thrown in this unbelievable Mech Pro Blue 248-piece toolkit with 3-drawer chest valued at $566. To stay on top of everything underneath, there's a $500 mount shop voucher. And last but not least, you'll also score a year's subscription to NZ V8 magazine. That's a total prize pool of nearly $2,000. To enter, just head over to nzv8.co.nz and hit the Muscle Garage link on the homepage. The winner will be drawn at the end of the series, so make sure you get amongst, because this prize pack is one major haul. Good luck.
Repco Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Mount Shop Undercar Specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Rislone, high performance additives for high performance vehicles.